Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Pro Wrestling Report, and we will talk about the big scandal broken by Sports Illustrated against WWE and several professional wrestlers regarding illegal drugs. Also, news and views. Wrestlemania is around the corner. We've got all kinds of updates from WWE, TNA, Wrestling Society X, our top fives, news, and the thing we call hits and misses. Sorry, you threw me off with your hand motions there. We're going to put a leash on him, and we'll be back in a few moments with the Pro Wrestling Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the world's most watched professional wrestling news program. This is... It's like Tony Schiavone.
It's Pro Wrestling Report. This is the greatest night in the history of professional wrestling, and we're talking Pro Wrestling Report. My God, we are here live in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Damian Nelson sitting here alongside the man they call Meathead. This is, as Meathead said, the Pro Wrestling Report. It is the world's most watched professional wrestling news program. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
let's
not
get
Schiavone.
right down to action and talk about this week's top story, which is a story broken by Sports Illustrated and expanded across the globe by the Associated Press, a drug scandal affecting World Wrestling Entertainment and, as we told you a couple of weeks ago on this program, Kurt Angle and TNA. Meathead, here are the details. Dr. David Wilbert of Arizona in the United States here issued prescriptions online to over 4,000 people. Some of these people, it has been found, were sports stars. Some of those sports stars, notable sports stars, are from World Wrestling Entertainment. We told you a couple of weeks ago that Kurt Angle was the first to be named. He did have orders from this doctor, claimed there were not steroids, said that during the time period that this investigation has revealed that these drugs were purchased, that he was dealing with injuries and did indeed seek out this doctor for prescribed medications. Said again that he used several drugs for several injuries. Now, here's what makes that much more interesting. Others have been named recently, notably 5 members of the WWE roster, one of which passed away recently. Randy Orton, Edge, otherwise known as Adam Copeland, Shane Helms, Rey Mysterio, who's actually Oscar Gutierrez, and Eddie Guerrero.
Gutierrez, by the way.
All named in this steroid/drug scandal. Meathead, Orton, said to have been prescribed 6 different drugs over a 6-month period in 2004 and 2005. Edge and Shane Helms, Adam Helms is actually a friend of mine. Shane Helms didn't take steroids,
is that how you
but
put your friends over?
prescribed to, or were prescribed the human growth hormone, HGH, and then Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero both had been prescribed steroids. Steroids, one of the contributing factors to Eddie Guerrero's death. So now with these people being named, WWE has refused to release a statement.
No, they released a statement, but it's a bland cover sheet,
exactly,
if you will.
All of these incidences, Meathead, occurred in the years 2004 and 2005. World Wrestling Entertainment announced their wellness policy in February of 2006. So all of this was outside the wellness policy. So WWE is essentially covered when it comes to this particular incident. But Meathead, what does this say about your Kurt Angles and the other 5 people?
Covered's a bad word.
The other 5 people that have been named in this investigation, and WWE's current wellness policy and their policies prior to instituting the wellness policy?
Covered's a
about
bad...
14 questions in there.
Yeah, I know. Covered's a bad term. You say they're covered, and I'm not saying that you just say they're covered. You're using the phrase that they think they're covered. Just because you made up a little policy, that doesn't keep you covered. It doesn't help you clean up the issue that's going on in your company. Obviously, you can see in Rey Mysterio, who showed up on SmackDown about a month ago and got run over by Umaga, fat. Eddie was bulking up before he passed away. I mean, and I don't mean muscle either. I mean body mass.
That's steroid fat.
Look at Edge.
Look at any 80s wrestler, for the most part. Look at Hogan in the 80s. Look at Ultimate Warrior in the 80s, and you'll see a distinct difference in puffy muscle and
cycling
muscle.
They're cycling down. Look at your Barry Bonds. Look at the size of his melon since he started playing baseball, and look at it now. I mean, the guy is just humongous. I mean, Damian Nelson's head has only gotten bigger because of the ego. Same as me. I have more hair now. That was a Small
Can I borrow
shot.
some of that?
These guys are using. I'm not there watching them inject each other in the butt, but these guys are using. Okay? It's a well-known fact. I think we're going to end up going back to the time of the Vince McMahon steroid trial again.
Whoa.
Because these guys, let me finish, these guys are well-known names. Out of that group, how many are not world champions?
Helms.
And that's it. These are top-line guys.
But again, Meathead, this all occurred between 2004 and 2005.
Doesn't matter when it
Even
occurred.
if WWE knew about it,
Doesn't
they
matter.
took substantial actions to address the issue, and since we have seen people released and slapped on the wrist for violating the policy.
But not top-line guys. They were not released. Scrubs were
Orton?
released,
Was given
Andrew Martin?
substantial time off.
but not released.
Well, that's not the policy. Policy is first violation is a 30-day suspension.
You're one of our top guys, so we're going to treat you a little different.
No files are expected to be charged against any of the named participants, and WWE conducted this
can't.
past week many tests. Some say as many as 24 tests.
What
surprise
charges
tests.
can they file?
The federal officials against these people who use illegal drugs without prescriptions, many charges they could file. But they are looking simply at the distributor and the person who...
Correct. So all they're doing is they're hyping up the media machine, the AP, and now the Espins and all those other guys like Kornheiser and Wilbon. All they're doing is
Isn't that us?
You would be Wilbon, I'd be Kornheiser. All they're doing is using this and making a big hoo-ha about it. This is an old story. We knew about the Kurt Angle thing 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We knew about this, but now, oh, hey, it's basketball's this weekend, so let's talk about wrestling this week. It's easy to do.
As you say, a lot of news organizations have reported on it in a tongue-in-cheek fashion, as many of them do professional wrestling.
Jokingly. You're correct.
A lot more have reported on it in a real circumstance, because when you look at the top part of these 5 names, Eddie Guerrero's dead. Eddie Guerrero's death was
You know why he was
attributed
put?
to
You know why he
previous
was
steroid
put in there
use.
too?
Eddie Guerrero
The
died
catcher.
in what year?
He died in 2004.
5, I believe
5.
it was.
Apologize. End of 2005. But he was thrown in as the catcher. Hey, one of these guys died from it.
But this could be a larger story when you look at the fact that the death report shows that it was prior steroid use that contributed to his
And it's
heart
not just
condition, which
wrestlers.
contributed to his death.
Baseball players, football players. I mean, they're also named in this as well.
I think WWE is got nothing to worry about in this situation. As I said,
As far
they have
as
a
business?
wellness policy, if you
As
will.
far
As
as
far as
business?
business goes, yes.
Business won't be
Is it a
affected.
black eye on all of these people who have been named?
It's a shot in the
Yes.
butt.
But I don't think it's going to materialize into much of anything else. But the interesting thing is, while some of these drugs may be illegal, I look at it as if you can get them, that's the problem. And again, that's the way the law is looking at it, is they're going after the distributor and not necessarily the people who used these particular drugs. Now, when you get into the heavy stuff that you see on addiction and intervention, then that's a different story. But
Well, who's to say that you can't be addicted to steroids? Mentally.
it does have some addictive qualities, from what I understand.
Right, but who's to say you can't be addicted to the mental aspect
Well,
of it?
you could, but
The getting jacked up
just
over and
because
over.
this guy stopped in 2005 and stopped distributing to all the same people at the same time frame,
I think people are sniffing around
Do
a
they
bit.
move on
He
to a new
stopped.
dealer?
Of course they move on to a new dealer. And obviously Mr. Copeland, you can tell, obviously with his injuries.
well, not
who's
very
to
many
say-
since he's returned, but
Who's to say that his injuries weren't caused by the stopping of use?
if you look at Edge, if you look at Randy Orton, if you look at Rey Mysterio, if you look at Helms, by the way, if you look at Sean Devari, who's not named in this, but this is another prime example. Look at them in 2004, 2005, look at them now. Edge, remember when he came back from his neck injury, was surprisingly larger than when he left as far as muscle mass goes.
Look at
now,
Snitsky. Look at
I
Edge. Got one guy for you. Look at Chris Masters.
the balloon.
He is a balloon. Obviously, when he took his hiatus, went down to
Which was
OVW
because of the
because of a
program,
wellness program, correct?
allegedly.
But not released.
First offense, 30 days.
When he
What does baseball do?
What does baseball do? It's 30, 60. Wait,
30-day suspension? So
I
why
don't
is it
know.
wrong
I
for
don't know.
WWE?
You know what? I don't know. I'm thinking of something else actually.
We can get Bug Seat. Is Bond on the phone?
Did you say bug? You sure did.
I
You
said
said
Bud
Bud
Selig.
Selig.
Finish your point so I can finish mine.
Chris Masters was shrunk. He was just a little guy. Look at Chris Masters as of just this
That's
last...
Triple H referenced in a promo once. You come back, you're gone for 6 months, you come back half the size.
That's right. But now he's blown up again.
Look at Edge, who is clearly out of shape, period, and is not as... and can still deliver, so don't get me wrong there, but when you
I didn't
look
say
at
in ring.
apples to apples.
Sure. And grapefruits to grapefruits. Because
Randy
those are
Orton,
probably
when
shrunk
he first
too.
came in 2004, 2005, granted had a shoulder injury, but was a very, how do I put, the word that comes to mind is petite, but that's certainly not the word I want to use, but a very defined individual. Now he's very puffy and just quite frankly looks like he's been run under a truck several times. And Rey Mysterio, huge, as short as he is, huge now. You know, there's some distinct differences in appearances over the years of these named individuals. Kurt Angle, tiny. You might be bigger than Kurt Angle right now.
Absolutely.
Granted, Kurt Angle has had significant injuries and significant more explanation as to the decrease in size there, but you got to believe, Meathead, that this did have something to do with it, these enhancing products that they were using. And now it does show me that with the introduction of WWE's wellness policy, it has quelched the abuse of these drugs, thus causing the current appearance of a lot of their superstars.
You're never going to quelch it, ever. There's going to be a new way to get a new thing, and I don't blame the people that are using it. I blame the medical professionals. There's going to be a new product that they're told is safe, that they're told is legal, and they're going to use it. Whatever advantage, and this goes for wrestling, this goes for baseball, sports, whatever. The reason people take steroids, they work. The reason they take whatever they're taking, Andro. Let's talk Mark McGuire for a second. The reason he took Andro, and admittedly so took Andro, because baseball didn't have a policy against it.
So
Now,
not?
Andro is banned by baseball, as far as I understand. But now Mark McGuire is looked upon as a leper. I mean, when he's eligible for the Hall of Fame, who knows if he's going to make it in, to be honest with you.
Well, Pete Rose is.
Not eligible for the Hall of Fame.
The point that I was going to make is I don't know what.
That's okay.
Your baseball story threw me completely off.
But, I mean, the reason that steroids are there is because they work. I'm trying to start over again, hopefully, to jar it up in that big melon of yours, that 57-pound head.
It's not 8 3/4 inches like Albert's head, though.
8 3/4. Can you believe? I'm a 7 3/8. What do you wear?
I never measured my head.
I just know because of fit ball caps. The reason they take this stuff is because it works, and they're going to move on to the next thing, and they're going to get whatever works. They're going to try and see. Again, I don't blame these guys for doing this because they searched out or seeked out a professional to do whatever they do, and the liability lays on them. You're going to go into a hospital and tell me that you don't trust your physician to do his job, his hippopotamus oath?
Oh, many times you shouldn't. The point I was going to make was there was a special on TLC, the Learning Channel.
Thank you for breaking it down for me.
The man whose arms exploded. There's literally a gentleman who in New York who
Scott Steiner?
No, similar, who was just a massive individual who had taken steroids for a long period of time and it was like a drug. You mentioned the addiction angle earlier. It was like a drug, and literally, his arm blew up. I mean, it exploded from just all the steroid injections and being overdeveloped, and it's a very fascinating story if you get a chance to take a look at that.
Not for him, but I mean...
Well, he's in it and talks about it. I mean, it's a very interesting story.
To him.
Yeah. But this is a unique situation, one that we don't get a chance to report on very often. So we will keep you updated as to what happens. I would expect some type of reaction, at least internally from WWE over the next few weeks, probably just after WrestleMania when normally punishments kick in. But we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, let's move on to the news and views for this week. First off, Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
By the way, the tag on my shirt is just killing me.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan has rumored and has stated on Bubba the Love Sponge that he is interested in creating the Hulkamania Legends Tour. A tour of... We are in the apocalypse here in Milwaukee. As spring has come in as a bear, they say, with thunderstorms and such. I don't follow you. I don't follow. Mentioned doing that tour, doing a Legends tour all around the country, calling some of his friends. However, he's not contacting any talent, not booked anything, just simply an idea he's working with at this time. Meathead, is it an idea that might be worth pursuing for the Hulkster?
What's in it for him? Because really, that's the question that he will always ask
Money,
himself.
money, 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 money. I mean, that's what motivates him, and that's not a problem.
Then it's worth it.
I think it's got, much like the Legends of Wrestling video games that came out and were successful initially.
They were very successful, and he was the marquee name on those.
I think it's got some legs, and I think fans
What I've never understood was
would
RVD.
certainly tune in. They could.
RVD was always on those games because he was wrestling ECW at the point.
They could certainly lump up with local promoters across the country, much like TNA did with their initial house tours, and I think they could do some pretty substantial business with 1 or 2 tours of Legends. And they could actually be smart with it and use Legends from the markets that they're in. And
not only smart with it, but have maybe 2 or 3 touring groups, a la Blue Man, or a la Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
You've seen them?
No.
Mick Foley has announced that he will be on the Raw the week following WrestleMania, and he's got a major announcement. He said it on a recent radio show that he will be returning to WWE. Rumors are that he will be getting involved in an angle with Vince McMahon. Rumors are also that Vince McMahon will be wrestling in the main event at SummerSlam somehow, some way. There have been long rumors that Mick would return to do a program with Vince McMahon. Most people were saying that was going to happen at WrestleMania. You see that is not the case, so take that last news item as you'd like. Number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list right now.
That's fine.
Have you read the book?
Have not yet.
Meathead, you and I will be attending WrestleMania 23 in just 1 week's time in Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City. Ford Field is the home, right across the street from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. WrestleMania 24 has been announced.
Thinking about sneaking into Canada?
Oh, we're going to Canada.
Do I have to bring a passport?
Hopefully you won't be able to get back in.
Do I have to bring a passport?
It's very easy. I went to Tijuana, Mexico.
Did you go to a donkey show?
Not. That show does not exist. It is all a fake, false rumor.
BS. There's donkey shows.
It's so easy to get out of this country. But what they don't tell you is you have to have certain items to get back in, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
WrestleMania 24 has been rumored to be in either Vegas or Orlando, Florida.
We were hoping for Vegas.
We were desperately hoping for Las Vegas, and it is now going to be the Citrus Bowl in the Ghetto in Orlando, Florida on March 30th.
You know what street it's right by?
2008. OBT, Orange Blossom Trail. We have viewers on OBT.
Yeah, I've been there.
I hope it's not the working viewers.
Hey, honey. OA, baby.
Google them.
I go all the time.
That announcement happened at a press conference this past Wednesday in Orlando, Florida. Orlando, my second favorite city behind Las Vegas. Smart move by WWE. #1 tourist destination in the world because of that rat down there. And now the WrestleMania.
He's just spreading hate.
I think the whole Mickey Mouse thing is a bit of a cult. I'm sorry.
Dave Chappelle busted him out. Basically, oh my God, Mickey Mouse is...
What did it for me was driving through Orlando, Florida, and I get to, they got those towers with the cords.
Yes.
That take stuff to people's houses.
Yeah, that's odd.
And they had one shaped like that rat. Right there, that moment was when I had a David Koresh type thought. And said, this is like a cult. People driving around with that rat's head on their antennas. All their little pins.
Did you put your visor halfway down to say that you can go ahead and put a bumper sticker up there? Tommy Bartlett's Wild Water Show.
Wrestling Society X, we said last week that the swan song for that organization would be this week's airing of the season finale. Did not happen. MTV pulled it from the schedule. We don't know when it's going to air now. Reruns are airing on MTV2.
Are they doing the rerun dance?
On Rerun 2. MTV2 and MTV Trace. Hopefully the finale will end on one of those, or will show on one of those 2 networks. Here's the interesting thing about that finale, folks. The WSX contracts are built in such a way where the talent is not released to go work for other organizations until the finale airs. Hostage are what they're being held right now, because who knows what the future of the organization Wrestling Society X is.
Teddy Hart.
We certainly know what the future of it is on
Evans.
television, which is none on MTV.
The guy that looks like you, except with an afro.
You say he looks like me because he is of African American descent.
Not true, because you look nothing like New Jack.
The Hall of Fame ceremony, which we will be attending at the Fox Theater in Detroit, Michigan,
somewhere,
will not at this point be aired on the USA Network or any network for that matter. For the first time in a couple of years, the network not taking the option to air the Hall of Fame ceremony, which in prior years has delivered substantial ratings, but satisfactory ratings, but it's been, as we were there last year, it was a 3-hour show when you take Sherry and Brett out, a 20-minute show. And
edited down and chopped down.
The 1 hour that aired on the network was difficult to pull off, it seemed. And without that frustration, if you will, this year it could be a better production. Who knows? But that is, you'll not be at a chance to see it live, but you will get a chance, of course, to see it on the Wrestlemania DVD, which is going to be released for the first time ever in several different versions with several different disc options with extras and such. Sort of like what's being done right now with the No Way Out DVD that you can purchase at Blockbuster,
Why would you buy
which has a bonus DVD of the February 16th edition of SmackDown.
Why?
Well, because JBL's on there. Reports are that Chris Jericho wants to return to the wrestling ring, ladies and gentlemen. However, he does not want a full schedule. Now, while it may seem that makes it obvious that he will be going to Total Nonstop Action,
Does not necessarily.
He will only do it for the right money and will be appearing at a New Jersey wrestling convention soon. Now, has Jericho's stock fallen? Is he needed by WWE right now?
Yes.
Really?
There's such an unbalanced set of rosters. Raw, SmackDown, and ECW. Raw's got just this gorge of talent. Okay. SmackDown has a couple guys. ECW has a couple guys. Seriously, clean Raw out and spread Raw across. It's time to shake things up again! And put Jericho back on Raw.
We didn't get a draft last year, did we?
Did not.
Think we'll get one this year?
It won't matter anymore because now guys just show up on other shows.
On pay-per-views primarily.
Primarily, but that's not absolutely all the time true.
Or accurate, as you were.
Accurate.
A word you were looking for. As opposed to the one I'm looking for, asshole. Jonathan Bradshaw Layfield, ladies and gentlemen, was announced to be in a professional wrestling match with Shawn Michaels on Raw this past Monday night. Clearly, that did not happen. It was never the plan for JBL to wrestle, folks. It was a swerve, if you will. JBL has some substantial back problems, is going in for another surgery coming up soon, does not want to get back in the ring. However, we've had many people say that Vince McMahon is very strongly encouraging JBL to get back in the ring and wrestle.
They need a really good heel, and JBL would be a really good heel.
He is a wrestling god.
They need a strong heel, and you know what? JBL can do it.
JBL clearly out of shape, and again, I'm not faulting him for that, but
you can't because the guy's injured, so he doesn't get the.
And he doesn't.
He's
reports indicate that he doesn't want to get in the ring.
I almost said it. He's probably off the juice too. I am not accusing Jonathan Bradshaw. I'm not accusing Jonathan Bradshaw Layfield of being on the juice.
You said JBL for short.
I am not accusing him, but he's not.
Who's the best of the initials? JBL, HBK, Triple H, Y2J, RVD.
Y2J and RVD.
Why are you always picking your favorites? You know there's other wrestlers.
Y2J, RVD.
Vince McMahon, I'm sorry, I wrote VKM, and it doesn't always mean Vince McMahon, but VKM has reportedly asked for their release from TNA Wrestling.
Because they're bored. They're upset with the way things are going.
Some say they may be interested in a return to WWE.
They think there's a spot for them, and you know what? There might be.
After all the stuff they've slanged.
Hogan showed up back in WWE.
Well, there's no such thing as
Bischoff was in there.
It takes a real son of a bitch to be successful in this business.
Tell me, I did not just see that.
You know, Booker T didn't know.
Of course he didn't know. That was a live reaction shot right there.
July 23, 2002, was that it?
Ish.
It's a great Raw. I believe.
By the way, it's on PWR Show.
Oh, yeah. In the PWR matches section, you can see Eric Bischoff's debut on WWE Raw. That was a great. That's one of the top 5 moments in wrestling history, in my opinion.
Has to be,
in my opinion.
But also, again, I'm not skewing this towards my favorite. Y2J's debut.
Why don't you use active professional wrestlers in your
Y2J's
1999 Rosemont Horizon, Chicago, Illinois. I sat there. The lights shine bright. JBL came out, and The Rock initially said,
"Who are you?"
It doesn't matter what your name is.
You could wrestle all the Juventudes you want.
It was who in the blue moon are you? But anyways, enough about memory lane here. This is a current wrestling news show, so we'll get back to the news here. Their release was not granted by TNA, not permitted to leave at this point in time. Apparently they've got a lot of business to handle with Christy Hemme.
I like Christy Hemme so much. I really do, and I want to.
Are you Hemi powered?
She's
She's
so beautiful. I'll let her get me pregnant. But the
There would
thing
be
is,
now. Have you really thought about the sequence of events that would need to occur to make that happen?
yeah, there was a video going on in my brain.
TNA Lockdown is said to have sold about 3,000 tickets for their April 15th event in San Luis, Missouri, under that curve thing, Gateway to the West, called the Arch. You can go up. You ever been up there in the eggs?
Dude, I have an issue going up 20 feet on a ladder.
So you are no Jeff Hardy, clearly. The venue holds about 9,000, and it's going to be a rally at the end to get those seats sold. We don't know what configuration they're using. In a lot of arenas, you have the opportunity to use half the arena. WWE did it for a number of years back in the late 90s, where you rent the whole thing, put a big tarp up, and use only half. So just made it a more intimate environment. So who knows what they're going to do. But that is the report right now, that they've sold about 3,000 tickets for that show. Destination X, which
And
we
they
didn't
used
talk
two
about last
entrances,
week,
by the way, too. So I don't know if they're going to be able to split the...
for their remote pay-per-view in Detroit, Michigan, they did not. We did not talk about Destination X, the pay-per-view, last week because, quite frankly, it was one of the worst efforts from TNA in a very long time, and Lockdown has got to accelerate their momentum, if you will.
They're going backwards right now. They are seriously
They're
taking one
spinning their
step
wheels, they're
forward.
trying
They are
too hard.
seriously going one step forward, 2 steps back.
And I'll take. Chris Benoit said it. JR said it recently. TNA is too focused on trying to be number 2, trying to be the big dog, trying to be in this war with WWE that they're not in. And I think they've lost focus, to be honest with you. I
They've
do
let
like
Vince
some of the
Russo.
things they're doing.
They
Love
did
Sanjay
let-
Dutt. We don't see him enough. Love Petey Williams. We don't see him enough. Love AJ Styles, especially as a heel. We see quite a bit of him. Too much Sting, too much Abyss, who looks more and more like Kane each and every week.
Absolutely.
I think they need to refocus their efforts and have some big monumental moment, which is not just signing somebody.
Even a little Jay Lethal's amusing. Oh, yeah.
Who apparently, I don't know if I believe this or not, but they want him to start dressing like Randy Savage since his music is so close. Which everyone has heard at their high school graduation, but be that as it may. Bill Goldberg.
I've heard of him.
He has released a statement about
A quote, if you will.
his
Try not to
potential
quote
signing
me
with
with
TNA. And I quote, ladies and gentlemen, this from Bill
You
Goldberg,
can
the
read that
former
right.
Atlanta Falcon. I've got corrective lenses in my eyes. Referencing TNA. And I quote, if they were smart, they would give me what I want because it would put them on the planet. That's all I have to say. That doesn't take anything away from the guys there like Kurt Angle and Sting and those guys. But if they were smart, they would give me what I wanted to put them on the map. If they want to be a competitor with Vince, there's only one of 3 options. Me, Brock, and God only knows who the other one is. That's the reality of it. I don't think I'm being greedy, but if they want to put asses in seats and fill stadiums, I can do it. I'm realistic. If I put more asses in seats, I deserve more money. That's simple and a really easy equation. If TNA were smart, they would make me happy and let me do what I want to do. Obviously, they're not. So good riddance.
Let me stop right there.
I believe he was sober when he said all this.
That is a correct statement from the correct guy. He's not the correct guy.
He is blunt and brutally honest and simply spoke how he felt, which I respect.
If that quote came from The Rock,
Oh, yeah.
it would be legitimate.
And that just shows you the class act right there, because even
Rock
if The Rock thought
wouldn't
it,
say it.
wouldn't say it. Hogan probably wouldn't even say something like this.
They might say it on Bubba the Love Sponge.
The audacity, if you will, of Goldberg to say these things. I mean, quite frankly, when you look at a Goldberg or a Kurt Angle, who's a bigger acquisition for TNA? In my
Kurt
opinion,
Angle.
it's Kurt Angle by and far, because you got a wrestler who can wrestle with your wrestlers, and not a name who's been diluted, quite frankly, over the last few years, as we talked about on this week's edition of PWI Interactive.
He is reaching Warrior status right now.
Jim Hellwig. Maybe he's going to start doing some vicious rants on the
He
internet.
can't. He's not intelligent.
Goldberg or
Goldberg. No, the Warrior's got some intelligence.
That's what Goldberg had to say, folks. Obviously, I think he compares himself to Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar would be a much better. There's a story with Brock, and that story is Brock Lesnar left WWE on his own. Brock Lesnar fought to get his right to wrestle again. He got that from WWE. Brock Lesnar now participating in MMA, mixed martial arts. Brock Lesnar is a story coming back to
Brock Lesnar
wrestling.
is still under 30.
Yeah.
Bill Goldberg in his 40s.
And Brock, one of the top 10 talents ever in professional wrestling, in my opinion. And
Not to mention an
much more than a name.
NCAA heavyweight champion. A real wrestler, Bill. Not some guy that has 4 moves.
Who would be a bigger position right now for TNA? Goldberg or Gilbert?
Gilbert.
Remember Survivor Series 1998?
You know what?
It was a deadly game.
I gotta go back to this. I'm sorry. It's just top of my head. Remember that deadly game, Survivor Series. Gotta go back to this. You know what? When he mentioned those names, you know who else was a big acquisition? He just glazed right over because of his heat with him. No. How could that's
Maybe
a slap
he
to
should
the
break
man.
the wall down.
That's a slap to the man right there. Obviously, Jericho, miles beyond Goldberg. That's how
As far
deluded
as
he
wrestling
is.
talent.
And putting asses in seats. Deadly game, Survivor Series 98.
Vince McMahon had a surprise opponent for Mick Foley, I believe it was, or The Rock.
He ran down. No, it was for Mick Foley because he debuted the Hardcore Championship, and he ran down the list. Put on
This
glasses.
individual with his little list and his index cards and
The
Patterson
reading
holding
glasses
the mic
that were
with the
split right
glasses
there, yeah.
and the Goldberg pyro. That was and why are we reminiscing so much? But the 1-2 from Shane McMahon to Stone Cold Steve Austin, look on his face right after Vince getting out of the wheelchair, blah 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 blah. But that is this week's
That was
news
also
and
the
views.
tournament that year.
That was the tournament. That was a great Survivor Series.
He's a
They have to be
man.
with the hard hat
Yeah.
and all. Yep. But anyways, let's go to the fan of the week. This week's fan of the week, his name is Mike. And he says, I've been a wrestling fan for as long as I can remember. I've just recently started watching the Pro Wrestling Report. I found it by accident one night searching on YouTube.
What were you searching for is really what
Had I found it sooner, you bet I would have been watching it. I was just surfing your site and I came across your interviews with various wrestling superstars like Hacksaw Jim Duggan
Ho!
and my favorite, Jim Cornette. They were great, but appeared to be a little old. Have you conducted any other interviews recently? If not, I think you should. I find them to be very interesting. Mike, fan of the week, thank you very much.
Most
Yes,
recent,
Sherry
Nick-
Martel was our most recent. We've
Nick
done
Bockwinkel.
Nick Bockwinkel in the last few weeks, or a few months rather. As those opportunities come up, we take advantage of
Yeah.
them, and they are most timeless. A couple of my favorites are Roddy Piper, Jim Cornette, as I said. We've
My
got
favorite
in the archives, but not yet available.
Vampiro.
It's a long one with Norman S. Smiley. A couple of ones that we have done that are not yet available in the archives. Al Snow.
Yep. Great
We
interview
had
with Al
Bobby
Snow.
Heenan on this program a couple of times. We had Grandmaster Sexy Brian Christopher on this program a couple of times as well. And those things are not yet available on pwrshow.com. But you never know what's going to pop up on there.
Yeah, one of those weeks when we're not doing a show, you may get a new interview.
Let's go to the hits and misses this week, ladies and gentlemen. And the one hit of the week, in my opinion, was WWE's use of Edge, given his injury. Edge has some type of jaw injury. As you noticed, he hasn't wrestled over the last few weeks, but he's been a prominent role on each of the shows.
If he is getting so fat, but his jaw's hurting, how is he getting the food in? How is he getting the food in, folks?
Edge actually, we talk about Edge being fat, but Edge actually had a comment about him being the fattest skinny person in WWE. So he is aware, as George Costanza would say.
And by the way, in South Park, maybe he's shoving the food up the backside.
The misses, ladies and gentlemen, of which that was one this week, was the use of Edge in that Battle Royal. Folks, how many times have we seen Jerry Lawler do that in a Battle Royal or a Royal Rumble? And it was so obvious, so blatantly obvious when it was done this week on Edge. And while I talk about that being a miss, generally I felt Raw this week was a substantial mess. It was wildly predictable. Almost everything that happened on Raw this past Monday night was completely
From a
predictable.
music to JBL and blah, blah.
It was just, and the highlight was JBL for me.
Eugene getting his
I saw
head
Shelton
shaved.
Benjamin in the match. Shelton had one last chance to get in that Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania and was thwarted, thrown off the top rope after an amazing leap right onto the top rope. And the final miss of the week, ladies and gentlemen, you had JBL in the building. Jerry Lawler gets taken out by the Great Khali, another obvious thing. And you don't use JBL to sit next to JR and do what could be one of the most entertaining commentary teams in recent history.
I would have honestly turned it off.
You used Todd Grisham, who almost took over, and I'm not sure he could do that for JR. And Grisham's good on a stick, by the way. But that was a miss, in my opinion, using Grisham instead of JBL, who was clearly in the building.
Of course he was in the building, he was in the ring. clearly in the
Did
building.
you catch JR's knock on the Texas Longhorns when the limo came out at the very open of the program?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, that's not a Longhorn.
That's where a Longhorn should be. It should be on the hood of a car, blah, blah, blah. Ladies and gentlemen, is the moment you all been waiting for this week. It is our weekly top 5. We pick the top 5 names or people or incidents in the world.
Things that come off the top of my head.
Prior week. And we always start with the man who is least prepared. His name is Meathead. Go ahead, Mr. McCain. Did you put that video up on YouTube about Hillary?
Number 5 of my top 5 list, no comment, is going to go to Jay Lethal. What did you think I was going to say?
JBL, the wrestling god.
Ugh, gotcha. Jay Lethal, oh yeah. Number 5 on the top 5 list. Not because of the Macho Man thing, but because he's smiling and he's wrestling and he's involved.
He's maybe the youngest now. I don't know if he's turned 21 yet, but Kenny has turned 21. Kenny Dykstra, remember him?
Yeah, he's the one that
He popped up in the Battle Royal last Monday night. Hadn't
he's
seen him in a couple weeks.
He's the one that's been hitting that roast beef.
They are engaged to be married.
That's right. Number 4 on my top 5 list goes out to Melina.
A surprisingly good
Melina.
women's champion.
Now, I won't go that far.
She's more than tickle bitties.
I'm more interested in the fact I got to see more skin on her. That's just me. Candice Michelle, we love you, baby.
Ooh, she looked a little rough.
We love you, baby. We really do. You're from Milwaukee. But
I've had the privilege of spending a day with her. She's a
Candice,
very, very nice individual.
There's something going on here.
Something happened.
Stop it. Stop it.
Something happened.
We know she got her nose broke in a women's issue.
You just went Bayview on us there.
Stop it. No, we're talking to Candice, so I can talk local on her. Number 4 goes out to Melina. Number 3 on my top 5 list is going out to the NWA Heavyweight Champion.
I'm sorry, the who?
NWA.
The who?
TNA Heavyweight Champion.
It'll be a tournament to decide the new NWA champion. All challengers from local organizations, including Ring of Honor all across the country, are bidding for that title right now.
The TNA Heavyweight Champion, Christian. Holler at your peeps. That's 2.
The Christian Coalition.
That's 2, by the way, from TNA. I want you to mark the tape.
Mentally noted that. The interns have written it down.
Number 2 on my top 5 list is going to go out to, he hasn't been mentioned in wrestling in a while. And it's not Y2J.
All hail!
No. He hasn't been mentioned in a while. I was just thinking of him this week. Just listening to some of my old wrestling theme songs, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Brother Love?
No.
Behold
the King. The King of Kings. Triple H. I'm about to say something I never thought I'd say.
You miss him, don't you?
Hurry back.
You miss him.
Trips. Hurry back.
Cute. That's great.
Number 2 on my list.
That's cute.
Triple H. I mean, I know he's raising a baby now.
SummerSlam-ish.
I know he's
Or his
raising a
active
baby.
return.
I know he's raising a baby. That's okay. Stephanie, by the way, bring back those tickle bitties too. Number 1 on my top 5
I'm the
list.
only one who can get away with using that word.
Number 1 on my top 5 list goes out to the fans of the Pro Wrestling Report because you guys are blowing us up. Keep it up.
While we're on it, record month in February for the show. As far as new visitors, we're still averaging about 25% of the people who come to pwrshow.com are brand new visitors, which certainly does not discount the 75% of you who are visiting every day. And
as you have seen in Interactive, I mean, we got guys calling from Montana, Idaho.
Did you hear that noise in the background, though, when Matthew called from Montana? It was a moose, I think.
I think that's what moose sound. Manitoba moose sound like that. That was my top 5 list.
And now that that's out of the way, let's go to the definitive top 5 list. Ladies and gentlemen, the one all of you clamored to the show to see this week. Number 5 is the man by the name of Jerry the King Lawler, inducted into the Hall of Fame, gets into the ring to save the diva, and says before he does that, I may get my ass kicked, but I'm going to go in there and do this. So that was good. Well, anyways. Number 4 is the player from the Himalaya, Sanjay Dutt. That's what he does, yes. Number 3 is the man who is not just a wrestling god, but he is now a commentary god, Jonathan Bradshaw Layfield, JBL. Number 3 on my top 5 list. You can hate all you want. This is my top 5 list. I didn't knock any of your...
I didn't say anything. I just made a face.
It's these faces you make and this thing on the face. That. Number 2, ladies and gentlemen, all hail! Money in the Bank participant, King Booker.
By the way, this is a homage, if you will, to Stan Marsh.
Stasiak?
No, Stan Marsh from South Park.
And number 1, ladies and gentlemen, just because I can, and I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. Mr. Bob Backlund. Number one on my top 5 list, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Backlund is crazy, but not at all crazy. Mr. Bob Backlund, number one on my top 5 list. Again, you didn't name all the presidents in order.
No, you know, and I can't.
It's the only way to get an autograph from Bob Backlund.
And I can't. I can, Mr. Backlund, I can do the state capitals for
5.5
how about
years.
a cell phone picture?
Aside from Hulk Hogan, the longest reigning recent WWE champion, granted it was 79 or 78 through 83, I believe it was. But Bob Backlund, an enigma, if you will, in the professional wrestling world. Meathead, big news coming up over the next few weeks here on this very program, the Pro Wrestling Report. Before we get to that, though, we'd like to express our condolences to a local legend, if you will, here in the Milwaukee area who passed away just last week, known as the BCW Enforcer. Passed away just recently, so our condolences go out to his family. And a great, great individual that I had the opportunity to speak to many a time, and will certainly be missed at local wrestling events and more. WrestleMania 23 Meathead next week. We will be bringing you exclusive previews, match by match, next week in this very studio, on this very air of WrestleMania 23. Now, all the matches are announced pretty much. Might have some long last-ditch inclusions. We will also be expanding on that and all weekend on PWRshow.com. We'll be bringing you live updates from Detroit, Michigan, Hall of Fame ceremony, WrestleMania ceremony, all the festivities that are occurring between Friday and Sunday of WrestleMania weekend. The travel department has set me up to travel with this Jamook, and we will get through
I
those
hope we're
issues.
getting separate rooms.
We will work through those issues, and
I can get a little gassy.
we will work through those issues, and we will bring you those updates on our audio forum and also on the video portion of the website. Speaking of the website, folks, make sure you check out the WrestleMania section of PWRshow.com. We've got Hall of Fame interviews up, interviews with those who are being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year that we've conducted, and match-by-match previews of WrestleMania 23. Very excited about WrestleMania 23 coming to Ford Field in Detroit. Over 78,000 fans will be in attendance. Meathead. It will be my first domed WrestleMania show, my 5th WrestleMania that I've attended. You were second. And it should be an electric atmosphere in Ford Field coming up just in about a week for WrestleMania.
You know what? In a day's time, I'm excited about OBT next year.
Orange Blossom Trail, ladies and gentlemen, the road that takes you to everywhere, including non-existence in Orlando, Florida. Citrus Bowl, daring, going outside, not since WrestleMania 9 at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
But they had a cover,
the
though.
debut of JR. They had a cover over the ring.
Right.
That's about it. I'm certain they'll have a similar setup in Florida at the Citrus Bowl. But which is another thing. All these internet smarts, Amway Arena, the arena in Orlando, formerly I think it was a TD Waterhouse or whatever. But everybody's saying WrestleMania is going to be in this place, and WWE, of course, comes out with the actual announcement, and you're all wrong. When nobody talks about how wrong they were, but we do. We'll admit it. Well, there's egg on your face.
And I think the real thing to talk about over the next year until they show up is TNA going to try to do anything about that?
Oh, they will, because much like when they brought cookies and balloons to WWE when they were filming a Royal Rumble commercial a few years back there. Why wouldn't they, though? I mean, it's, the advice that we'll give TNA is the advice that WWE utilized when they were on top of WCW, which was not acknowledging them. Being aware, but not acknowledging. And that's what you do when you're at the top of the mountain.
Not King of the Mountain, that's another thing altogether.
He'll be back coming up very soon. Some say as soon as Destiny at the Lockdown pay-per-view.
St. Louis.
As a face, could be one of the surprise entrants in the Ultimate Destination Phenomenal Styles trampoline on pole match that they're going to be announcing.
A lot of stuff named after AJ.
Well, he is the phenomenal one. We are clearly stretching, but we are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to tune in to PWR Interactive, which is available on this site as well. Remember, folks, the first place you're going to find the Pro Wrestling Report is exclusively on PWRshow.com. You YouTube viewers will find the show several days later, so check out PWRshow.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Where did that come from? Join the hundreds of people who have signed up so far for the newsletter and get advanced notification and updates of things that change or come up on the Pro Wrestling Report. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
For Meathead, Damian Nelson saying so long, everybody. We'll see you next week.